Hey Lindsay, how's it going? So I only have a quick minute, unfortunately, but I wanted to at least get an introductory kind of thing going with you. So I have a few different books here for you. It sounds like you already know your quarter notes, eighth notes, and 16th notes, playing those on the snare. So with this book, this is the book that we use, Alfred's. You can either purchase it or I can scan copies and then send those to you, okay? But it just goes through your quarter notes, eighth notes. Here's lessons 1 and 2. So then you can pause on each page, but all on snare, okay? The most important thing is to recognize your note values and the syllable counts associated with each note value. Okay, that's really important. But it sounds like you already know those. Your 16th notes as well. 16ths, if you want to have a certain page, that's a good lesson. It's lesson 7 out of this book. And what I have all my students do is first learn one by one, and then go straight down the page. So just pretending that the second half doesn't exist, okay? Going from beat 4 straight into number 2, straight into number 3, and so on, and then repeating it, okay? Then we have full patterns. You already know your eighth notes, okay? You already know your eighth notes, quarter notes, and that's all this is for your rock patterns. Patterns that you've been playing, that's your primary pattern, number 1. So it's just associating, one line connects eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 2 lines connect 16th notes, we call them beams, but you can think lines if that helps you. And quarter notes, we say they stand alone, okay? So for instance, this pattern, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Beat 1, very bottom space, bass drum. Count your syllables. 1 and 2, right? Beat 2 is on the snare, second space from the top. Beat 3, back to the bass drum, and beat 4, okay? And the whole page is like that. So it's just where you're changing the bass drum accents throughout it. But if you get that into your hands first and practice the reading skill, you want to always look at it and read it as you're doing it. That's really, really important. So, for instance, I'll play it for you, okay? So, number 1, you're already playing that pattern, and then counting it. If you don't read it at all times, I know it's a repetitious pattern, but it's really going to help you to track along with your eyes. That's why they say readers read, because you're tracking along with your eyes as you're doing it, okay? So, number 1, remember it's eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1. And you always want to practice slow. Practice speed is always slow, but you want to take it up gradually to medium tempo, fast tempo, and then even faster tempos, okay? For instance, don't max out past your maximum. That's really important because then you're going to start to tighten up. Technique's going to go out the window. You want to practice nice and loose when you're doing it, okay? And those are what we call embellishments. So this just give you ideas of how to count and how to track along with it. But then you can embellish the patterns too, okay? But the muscle memory part here, everything stays the same except the bass drum. So as long as you get this into your muscle memory, everything else will be smooth sailing, okay? But counting your syllables, okay? And I have a student here in just 2 minutes, so sorry this is so quick, but I promise I'm going to do another video that's going to be longer, okay? So for 16th notes, nothing different, except now that you're reading 16th notes instead of reading 8th notes. Let's see, let's choose, just for instance. Okay, so what you're reading now is 16th note syllable count rather than reading 8th notes, okay? And I know this is kind of a tricky pattern, so I'm going to simplify it, but just to give you an idea of what you're going to be reading within your 16th notes, okay? So reading 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. The bass pattern on this is you can either make it stacked or syncopated depending on what you're playing up top with your right hand, but it's 1, 2, 3, a 4, and 1. 2, 3, a 4, and 1. If you stack it and you're playing 16ths, then it'll be easier. If you make it syncopated, then if you're playing 8th notes up here, a 16th note down here, it's not going to stack, right? So that pattern would be 1 E and a 2 E and a 3, a 4, and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3, a 4, and 1. 3, a 4, and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and 1 E and a 2. Okay? So, and I promise I'm going to make a longer video, but just to get you started with it, just know what you have already known and learned and associate that, and then just apply it to what you're reading here within full patterns, okay? So hopefully that gets you started, and sorry I had to cut it so short, but after this, I'm going to make a longer video for you, okay? Take care.